Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh, and Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned, my friend's going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Happy Labor Day. We have a special show for you scheduled today, and it's going to be a special one. And looks like PJ is having some computer issues. We'll bring him on in a second, but we also have Philip. How's it going, my friend?
Hey, Leo. How's it going, my friend? I'm doing all right, and looking forward to discussing some stuff with our guest.
Yeah. PJ is just signing in, so tonight's guest, definitely a Hollywood historian, and we're going to talk about so many awesome stories. Can't wait to hear him. But let me add him in. And
hey, there I am.
Hey, Betsy, how's it going?
I never have this much problem with my computer. Then, I try to move something slightly, and then my camera comes unplugged, and it's like, your camera's unplugged, but the red light's still on. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Oh, but it's great to be back.
Yeah, totally.
On this award-winning show with this award-winning host.
Oh, geez. You're going to make me blush again. And I forgot to mention, my name's Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard. And Patsy, would you like to introduce our most awesome guest tonight?
Yeah, we have, speaking of award winners, we have a gentleman who's won multiple awards in multiple different fields. He is an Emmy Award winner. He is a best-selling author. He has now gotten into podcasting. He has 48 years in the entertainment and show business industry. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to be joined by Mr. Jeffrey Mark. Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining today.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here, and I must tell you, you win an award yourselves. That is the longest opening of any television show or podcast I've ever been on. That was awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, and we hear that a lot, and I totally apologize for that. But the reason why we have that so long is during that, I'm pushing some buttons behind the background, just making sure to share it everywhere.
Leo is actually playing all of those instruments by hand, but he just doesn't want to show off, so he puts all the graphics and the videos up.
Totally. All I know is that my goatee was solid orange when we started, and all of this grew in waiting for the show to start.
It is a long intro, but
it's a necessary one. I'm teasing you guys. Come on, lighten up.
Oh, yeah, we totally get it.
My wife is the one who does the parental guidance warning there at the beginning.
So we can use language today, huh?
Oh, use any language you want. French, Japanese, whatever you got.
I was once doing a panel meeting. I was interviewing celebrities at the first annual Palm Springs International Comedy Festival, and I was the host for the weekend. And I had Dawn Wells, who was Marianne on Gilligan's Island, my dear, dear friend. We lost to COVID this year. And Ruta Lee and Allison Arngrim from Little House on the Prairie and Joyce Bulifant. And we were talking about language, and in modern comedy, you have to use it sometimes. And I said I had never really said a dirty word on a stage. And Ruta Lee said, Jeffrey, for fuck's sake, you're over 45 years old. Tonight, go on the stage. I want to hear you say fuck. It's time, Jeff. So that just now was the first time I've said fuck on the air. So congratulations, gentlemen.
Awesome.
And we've got it for posterity. Excellent.
We do. Speaking of posterity, I started listening to your podcast today. And
oh, that's good, Leo.
Yeah, absolutely love it how you're breaking down, and I know we'll be talking about Ella tonight, but breaking down each song, and you do a little blurb before each one. Absolutely love it. What are your plans for the podcast?
Well, we've only got 10 in the can so far. We've recorded 10 of them. So the idea is there's so much Ella music out. Ella Fitzgerald, that's what we're talking about. In case you didn't know, Ella Fitzgerald is the most recorded female voice in history. There's so much out there. So what we do each week is we play Ella on a theme. So the first episode was Ella and Cole Porter. And we go to studio albums, live albums, television. And I tell you what's going on. How did it come about? What's happening backstage? What's the inside gossip sometimes? And I think it helps people to enjoy her even more. It's such a pleasure to do. And it's already picking up traction. This is going to be big for me. I feel it.
Awesome.
And I would imagine that with all the, the history that you have in the industry and like a lot of the different connections that you have, that it might be easier for you to get some of this information and this background stuff than it would be for, say, someone who's just like, oh, I'm a huge fan. I wish I could do this. Like,
I've already written the book. I've written 2 books about Ella Fitzgerald. The second one, much more detailed and honest than the first, because Ella was alive for the first one, and I didn't want to upset her. But I'm only really sharing information that's already in my book. And, Ella Fitzgerald's foundation has my book on every desk. They use my book as the Bible for their information.
That's
excellent. I'm very, very honored.
It shows that you. Sorry, I was gonna say it definitely shows that you've done your homework and you know what you're talking about. Sorry.
Oh gosh, yes, Philip. Yes.
Yes, I was curious. Do you love doing this in the sense that it brings people that were like legends during my parents' time to a new generation of folk who may have not known who she was, for example?
When I started writing these kinds of books and singing these kinds of songs, I wasn't thinking into the future. I like to write about people who are the best at what they do. So I wrote a book about Ethel Merman, the best musical comedy performer in the world. Lucille Ball, the best sitcom actress in the world. Ella, the best jazz singer in the world. And too often these people, their work is overlooked. People are looking for the gossip about their personal lives. And their personal lives, Ella's story is very compelling. What she went through as a youngster with rape and torture and being an orphan and living on the streets. But nobody writes deeply about the work, how it came about, how hard it was to do, and how they maintained their careers. That's what I like to write about. It just turns out I've gotten old enough now that I'm kind of in the senior class. If you want to say to somebody, hey, was Milton Berle's penis really that big? I'm one of the very few who are still alive who saw it and can tell you, yes, it was.
I mean, that's
follow up that question. Go ahead, I dare you.
That's definitely something that that you wouldn't typically hear, from a a podcast today talking about, no one's going to be sitting there talking about the legendary size of Tom Hanks' genitalia. Like, that's just not something that's going to come up in conversation. Or, like, hey, did you know Mr. Rogers was like one of the most well-hung men I've ever seen in my life? Like, that's not something that you generally hear. But Milton Berle definitely was proud of that fact.
Well, Milton helped put that out.
Of course.
That information got out there with Milton's help. It was a funny thing. Milton used to have a contest. I know we're talking about grown middle-aged men now, not little kids. Himself, Forrest Tucker, and a man who wrote Duffy's Tavern on radio, all purported to be the biggest men in Hollywood. And Milton won, but it was contests plural. And it's like, Milton, did you think the sizes were going to change from time to time? So there was some sort of either homoerotic joy in showing off, or it just made for a great story to tell at dinner.
Or he's just proud, I mean, you're proud.
Well, let's put it this way. If my penis was 9 inches long, soft, I'd be pretty proud too.
What's the story? It was like him and somebody else. I'm trying to remember the details, but he's like, you go first so I know how much to pull out in order to win.
Oh, you just ruined the whole story. You ruined. Never, ever, ever. This is a comedy. I'm giving you comedy 101. Never, never, never tell a story with the punchline. This is the story, and it's a true story. It's not a joke. At the Friars Club, the late lamented Beverly Hills Friars Club, of which I was a member, there was a steam room. And Milton and his friend Buddy Arnold were coming out wrapped in a towel. And a man comes up to him and says, "Hey, Burl, I hear you got a big one. $100. Mine is bigger than yours." Now, if Milton knew you, and Milton knew everybody at the Friars Club, he knew who you were, he knew where you were working, he knew what ratings you got last week. He could be very open with you. But if you were a guest of someone, he treated you like an outsider and a guest. And he said to the man, "Look, you're obviously not a member here. I don't know you. You're somebody's guest. Go find the man who's hosting you. Have a wonderful time at our club. This is inappropriate." And the man kept pushing and pushing. "Come on, Burl, $100. Put up or shut up. Put up or shut up." And Buddy Arnold turned to Milton and said, "Oh, Milton, just pull out enough to win." And Milton told me the story, so it's true.
Okay, I was going to say it's slightly different from what I heard, although it generally when these types of things happen, it's the details get a little muddied as the story goes along.
That's why I generally don't tell these stories unless I hear it from the actual participants or I was there and observed it. There's a wonderful story about Milton Berle. Jan Murray, who used to be a very famous television personality and comedian and was a friend of mine. But he was a protege of Milton's early in his career. And he was young and not very experienced. And they were at the Friars Club in New York. And Jan is like scratching in his crotch and scratching and scratching. And Milton said, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "I don't know. I can't stop itching." Milton said, "I'll bet you got crabs." So he takes Jan into the men's room, into a stall, has Jan stand up on the toilet, the seat down. He gets down on his hands and knees, drop your pals trout, and he's, looking to see if he can find. And just then somebody walked into the men's room and Milton turned around and said, "We're very close friends."
That's a great story.
Again, Milton told me that story. So did Jan, by the way.
Oh, so you got double confirmation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent.
I didn't know these stories, and it was just
that's why you have me on here to tell them.
That is awesome. Now I loved watching Milton Berle when I was a kid, and it's just it definitely puts it into a whole new perspective.
He was a very strange man. Brilliantly talented. Discussions were serious. Comedy is serious. The career is serious. And if you knew what you were talking about, Milton would be your best friend. And if you treated him like a fan or like an amateur, he had no use for you. When I first met him, I was taken to the Friars Club for lunch by Jack Carter, another very, very famous comedian who was a dear friend of mine. And like, what do you say to Milton Berle when you're meeting him for the first time? And I said to him, Mr. Berle, in 1949, on March 22nd, you had Ethel Merman on your show, and the two of you, he held up two fingers and went like this, because they had a fight on live television. He poked her in the eyes like that. Both of us did this at the same time. He said, how do you know about that? I said, I have a copy of the show. He says, I don't have a copy of the show. I said, you do now. I made a friend because I knew what I was talking about.
And I think that's definitely important when you're trying to, like if you have a like a guest on a podcast, it's good to know who they are. And if you don't know, don't try and pretend, it's like, oh yeah, I remember you. You were great in The Walking Dead. It's like, I wasn't on that show. It's like, nah, I'm pretty sure you were,
When I get questions like, what's it like to fill in the blank?
Mm-hmm.
I know the person has not done their homework. I have had coast-to-coast radio shows of my own. I've had local Los Angeles radio shows of my own, podcasts of my own. I've been on every television show I can think of where they interview you. I've never used notes. I've never referred to something. I make sure before I get started, I know what I'm talking about. And that to some degree, I know the answer to the question I'm asking. Because the point of all of this is all you lovely people who are watching us is to entertain you. It's not a quiz. This is not, we're not cramming for our finals in our senior year of high school. We're supposed to make you laugh. It's supposed to make you feel good. And it works. It works. So I get very specific in my questions.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense, and with this show, like we definitely come in and we have specific things that we want to talk about, like we talked a little bit off air, do you want to talk about this? Do you not want to talk about that? We want to make sure our guest is comfortable. But then, like Leo said, there's also some free form that comes along to it. Like I mentioned earlier, I absolutely love your hat. So my question is, did you make that yourself, or is that something that you purchased?
Oh no, this stuff, the jewelry, this is very expensive costuming. And it started with Rip Taylor. Do you remember Rip Taylor, the comedian?
I sure do, yep.
Rip and another wonderful man, Chuck McCann, who's not quite as well known, unless you remember, I'm Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs.
Yep.
Came to see me perform in Los Angeles many, many years ago. And said, let's go to dinner. And Rip said, Jeff, you are magic on the stage, but you're dressed like a fucking accountant. Go to thus and such store, see if there's anything there that sparkles. You need to sparkle. You need to be glamorous. And I went to the store, and it was hooker wear, basically. But they had some not sequined hats, but mirrored hats that it looked like your head were on fire under a light. And they were $50. And I thought, nah, I'm not going to bother with this. And the store was inside of a restaurant. And I went to that restaurant that night for dinner. And the guy who said $50 brought a hat over and said, you need this, $5. I thought, $5? Okay, what can I do with this? And I brought it with me. I was going on my first cruise as an entertainer. And I wore it on stage. The audience loved it. And so I'm making a very long story very short. The next cruise, I took 3 hats. The next cruise, I took 10 hats. I have 97 hats sitting in my dressing room here. I've got all kinds of sparkly shoes and scarves and jackets, and it became my image, and it's worked.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for it.
I love it. Like it's the first thing that I noticed. I noticed you got the silver tie there. You got silver on your shirt. The black and silver definitely looks.
Look, when I was 19 years old, I could put on a tight T-shirt, show off my muscles, wear tight-fitting pants and no underwear. I was good to go. At this age, I rely on the sparkles. I was saying, I have an assistant who's here in the house with me, and I said to him, well, I've gone from old man to sexy daddy with one shower. It works. It's a good thing for me. And you know what? I enjoy it. I enjoy it, and I'm not aware of it, meaning I don't walk around like, look at my sparkles. Once I have the stuff on, I never think twice about it. That way I wear it, it doesn't wear me.
Right. It's part of your identity now. That's all.
I see lots of people, quite frankly, trying to imitate my look, and they all look so self-conscious, like they got the deer in the headlights, like, is this okay? Am I wearing it right? And they don't, hey, this is me. Because it's not them, it's me. So I thank you, Rip. I love you wherever you are in heaven. And I thank you for my look.
I mean, that's a hell of a great story too. Like, you know, just from that, like, oh yeah, I like your hat, and it's like, oh yeah, Rip Taylor got me into this stuff. Like that's fucking awesome. Like,
thank you. Well, I have this Forrest Gump thing about me. Meeting people, being in the right place at the right time, or being in the wrong place at the right time. I was a witness to John Lennon's assassination.
Ugh.
I just happened to be on 72nd Street in Manhattan at that moment. You don't plan things like that. It just happens. We could talk about my little affair with Freddie Mercury.
Oh, yes. That I would love to hear about.
Well, ask questions, because I don't want to reveal more than I have to. So you ask, I will honestly answer anything you ask me.
Okay.
Well, tell you what, while you think of that, we do have a question that came in from the chat room. Ryan is asking, what was your most fun book to write and why?
Good question.
Oh, I think the most fun book is the Lucy book, which is coming out, a new Lucy book next year, the new Lucy book, because the Lucille Ball fans are so loving, so into her, and have taken my book to heart. I get fan mail from people who literally sleep with my book under their pillow.
Oh, wow.
How can you not love that? So it was the most fun to write because I did something nobody else had done, which is I ignored her personal life and pulled apart her television career, show by show by show, not just her shows, but everything she did on television. And I did it with the family's approval and support. And Steve Allen wrote a foreword for it. The new Lucy book is coming out right about now next year. Fran Drescher has written the foreword for it, and it'll include her radio shows and movies and television. So we look forward to that. But it was the most fun for me, and it gave me the most satisfaction, I think.
Wow. It's
thank you, Ryan.
For if you're interested in the first Lucy book, I do have a link in the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. It's an Amazon link along with the Ella Fitzgerald book as well. Now, I have not read the book, but I was reading, what it's about. But covering, her career, from I believe it was 1940s until her passing. Every instance where she was on national television. Must be incredible for fans, just trying to, find, lost bits of entertainment where they might not have seen her.
Well, I think so many books, the reason I wrote this book originally, so many people wrote biographies of Miss Ball or Miss Ball and Mr. Arnaz or about the Desilu Empire. And they were so concerned with, according to the writers, according to the authors, I'm not saying any of this is true, but they wrote about Mr. Arnaz's alcoholism, what a bitch Lucille Ball is, how the shows weren't as funny as we think they are, how badly she treated everybody, and who they slept with and who they didn't sleep with. And I didn't start watching Lucy as a little kid like all of us did because of who she slept with or didn't sleep with. I was unaware of anyone's personal life. I didn't care. I watched the show because it's magic. And I wanted to write about why it was magic and who was involved and why and what was going on backstage. Nobody else had done it. And the family is glad. Lucy Arnaz says, I'm the only one who got it right. And again, how can you not love hearing input like that?
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. Is it? I remember hearing a story a while ago that she was responsible for saving Star Trek. Is that true?
Well, she was responsible for getting it on the air. Desilu was a studio. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz bought the old RKO studio in 1957. The RKO studio at that moment was 3 studios, 3 different places. So they bought all of it. And they became the biggest motion picture, more sound stages than anyone in the world. And they made a nice penny producing their own stuff and renting out their stages to other people to produce their stuff. Well, after Miss Ball and Mr. Arnaz divorced and Mr. Arnaz temporarily retired from show business, Lucille Ball found herself the president of a studio. Not really what she wanted to do. She wanted to perform, but her money, her financial future is in this studio. And they were having trouble getting sitcoms on the air. So the men who were the 3 or 4 men it took to replace Mr. Arnaz, which tells you how good Mr. Arnaz was at his job.
Right.
Why don't we do dramas? And they came up with Star Trek, Mission Impossible, and Mannix. And just from Star Trek and Mission Impossible, it's worth billions of dollars right now. Miss Ball sold the studio in 1967 for about $8 million, and it turned into $16 million because the stock split. But had she held on to it, it would have been billions. So originally, CBS was interested. They weren't really. They were doing their own science fiction project, Lost in Space. They met with Gene Roddenberry, who was the creator of Star Trek, just to sort of pick his brain, and then they turned down the project. A pilot was made with a different cast, except for Leonard Nimoy, and NBC turned it down. And Lucille Ball said, you know what? Let's make this better. Let's not lose this. This is too good to go away. And okayed the money for a second pilot that starred Bill Shatner. And that's the one that NBC bought. And look at what's happened to it all these years later.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, the first pilot, that crew is being turned into a show that I think it comes out next year.
You know, Star Trek is like Superman. Every few years, somebody new is going to come along and change everything just to get their fingerprints all over it. I don't think anyone can outdo Gene Roddenberry, no matter how talented they are. And I think that in a way, it's a little sad that everything that's going up now seems to be a remake of something that used to be. There's not a whole lot of new coming out. And I'm not quite sure, have we as a country or as a society run out of ideas for entertainment? But how many sitcoms are they going to revive? How many old hour-long drama TV shows are they going to turn into movies? I'd love to see some more creativity, but that we could talk for an hour about that.
Oh, totally.
See, that's my.
And you asked not one question about Freddie Mercury.
Well,
I was giving him time.
I know. I have a question. Obviously, the first question is, where and how did you meet, and what really made things click between you?
Where was Studio 54? When was the late 1970s? What made us click was a lot of marijuana and cocaine. He was a very sexy man. And in the late 1970s, I was a very sexy, younger than he man. And we clicked. And if you want more than that, you have to ask better questions.
Where did it go after Studio 54? Did you maybe follow him on tour, or
No. It was a one-night stand, and one did not need to leave Studio 54 to have a one-night stand. There was plenty of room there to interact with someone on a very personal level, because it was wild. People think Studio 54 was around for years and years and years. It was around for about 3 years before everybody involved got arrested and put into prison. There was so much drugging. There was so much sex going on in the place. And I will give Freddie credit. This you don't have to ask. Whatever happened between us sexually, he was very concerned that I had a good time, that I was okay, that I was sober enough to get home on my own steam. He made it a very human thing. He made it more than just playtime. I really appreciated that about him, because I'm sure I was one of many, 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 many people with whom he interacted. And I guess I should be very lucky that I interacted with him before HIV.
Did you guys, stay in contact afterwards? Were you, did you, stay friends? Because it seemed like he was, very nice to you. Like, was that something?
It was really and truly a 1970s one night stand.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mean to pry, but
no.
Questions.
Let me put it this way. A good time was had by all. When we parted company, both of us were smiling ear to ear. So
that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Now let me ask you something more related to what you're doing now that people can see you. Your podcast, you mentioned a little bit about what you do and whatnot with it, and you've done podcasts and radio before. But what's your podcast really about now? What's the format? How long does it go? Do you have interactions with people that can give you questions?
It really and truly is kind of just me. It's me and Ella. It's me. I pre-record everything. It's not live. I don't interview anyone. I don't take questions. It's an hour of Ella fans or people maybe who don't know Ella's music quite so well or want to learn about Ella's music. Ella and Duke Ellington, Ella and Oscar Peterson, Ella with Nelson Riddle's arrangements, Ella and Sinatra together, Ella singing Sinatra's songs, the early years of Ella when she was a big band singer. Every week is a little bit different. And I'm just loving doing it because it's an extension of the book, but it's more personal because I just get to talk. And I get to share what I know, and I get to share my enthusiasm with our listeners. I'm being asked to do a video podcast.
Oh, wow.
And I don't want to be competition with you guys or anybody else I know who does lots of interviews. So we're having meetings about my doing something that would be more about comedy and less about interviewing. And perhaps about, but I'm a boomer, and making that into the joke that kind of runs through it. But that's what I'm doing. I'm also appearing a lot with people like you. You're better than most. I'm enjoying this a lot.
Oh, thank you.
And I guest host for a lot of people when they have to take leave or go on vacation or they don't feel well. There was a man named Robert Q. Lewis who had almost an entire career in the 50s and 60s, filling in for game shows and talk shows when the host was sick. So I become the Robert Q. Lewis of the 21st century.
Oh, nice.
I just want to add something about competition. As far as we are concerned, and I think I speak for Leo and Phil as well, we don't view anyone else as competition because we want everyone else to be successful as well.
Oh, I do too. But you'd be surprised, Patsy, you'd be surprised how few people feel that way.
It's unfortunate.
Even to the point where I have been told by my publicist, if you do an interview show, don't expect to be on anybody else's interview show. They won't promote you because they see you as competition.
See, that's such horseshit to me. Like
it is, but it's how people are.
The whole point of this show specifically, and like this is something I get really fired up about. And you mentioned earlier, everything's a remake of a TV show, or we have a Walker Texas Ranger remake that's coming out or already came out. Whatever. People who are tired of prequels, sequels, reboots, spin-offs, all this shit. If you want to see something original, look at the independent creators. Look at the folks who are doing stuff, like your books. You are delving into an area where no one has really gone before. And I know that's not a Star Trek joke.
I know. I heard it coming and I saw that.
That's not where I was going with that. But, look at these independent creators. We have them on here every week, whether they're artists, whether they're writers, whether they're, making movies or musicians. Like there's so many fresh stuff out there, but because it doesn't have the backing of like these multi-billion-dollar industries, everyone's like, oh, everything sounds the same. Every movie is the same formula. It's like, yeah, do you want to see something new? Look elsewhere. Look at the people who are doing crowdfunding. Look at the people who are putting out stuff on Vimeo and Tubi. You're going to find quality stuff there. And
but you have to look. You have to take the time and have the, you know. And it's also, I think, you were talking about my being a boomer. When I talk to young people about the history of whatever it is, and you know, sooner or later, I hear fucking boomer. I don't like the newer Star Wars movies. And I say so. And I say, why? Oh, fucking boomer. What do you know about Star Wars? I've watched the movie with George Lucas. That's what I know about Star Wars. And then, you know, you get these great big eyes looking at me like, you're kidding me. I'm like, no, I'm not kidding you.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there is nothing that has universal support. No one is going to love everything. I love Star Wars, and I don't love everything that they put out. You know, that's why they make chocolate and vanilla. You know, like that's.
Good,
no, I get it.
Analogy.
I get it.
Good analogy. Yeah.
Oh, Philip's smiling. Wait a minute. Everybody hold on tight. Philip's smiling now.
Well, it was a good analogy. It was a good analogy.
Write this day down. It took Labor Day and Rosh Hashanah to get Philip to smile. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's been a crappy week. So what are you gonna do? But
yeah, it is for me too. I lost a dear friend on Friday. Irma Kalish, who was half of the writing team of Austin and Irma Kalish. They wrote everything. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, All in the Family, Maude, I Dream of Jeannie, F Troop, on and on and on and on and on. And I was given the honor of co-writing her obituary with her son. So yeah, and I've got 9 stitches in my arm. I had surgery on my arm last week. Oh, wow. But you know what? Today I'm going to laugh because if I don't, I'm wasting a day.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and I greatly appreciate your time here tonight. And I just wanted to, you know, just put a little bug in your ear. You know, it's with your history. You know, I think you would put together an incredible interview style show. I mean, you know, maybe mix it up with comedy as well, or build it in.
I'll see. We were having meetings about this new show. And we've talked about interviewing people. I don't want to give away all that we're talking about. What I don't want to do is I must know 40 people who have podcasts. Some of you, I'll include you in this, do it very well.
Thank you.
I've never had 3 gang up on me before like this. At least not outside of Studio 54 anyway. I've done Q&A with a whole audience where I get questions from 100 different people, but I've never done a video thing like this before. And I've been on with people as like, are you fucking kidding me? Do you have any idea who I am? Why did you want me to be on your show? What's the point of this? Everybody thinks they're a star. Everybody thinks they're in show business. Most gay men think they're already in show business just by being fans. People don't get how hard this work is. The preparation just to be on with you guys. It's an hour of prep for me. I'm happy to do it. I'm a ham. I'm a hamasaurus. I love to make people laugh. I love to sing. I'm a jazz singer. I love to do these kinds of things. But I don't know that the audience out there needs one more person doing Plugorama. So if I were to do an interview thing, it would have to be a very different, very special, so that, like you said, chocolate and vanilla, I got to find the right flavor. And I haven't found it yet. It's not chocolate. It's not vanilla. It might be tutti frutti. But until I find the right combo, I'm not going to do it.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, there's a lot of people who want to do podcasts, a lot of people, and I always say the same thing anytime someone says, I could never do that. There's already a ton of podcasts. It's like, yeah, well, there's a million people that want to do everything, but nobody else has your voice. Someone gave me that advice on one of the first shows I ever did. And I'm like, Jesus, I feel out of my league because I had all these, experienced people, and there was a movie producer on with us. And I was just like, I am so out of my league. This is the third show I've done. And I was told, listen, everybody wants to do something like this, and there's a million people that want to do anything that you want to do, but nobody else has your voice.
Lucille Ball gave wonderful advice. She said, everybody who wants to be in show business will hear 5 tons of failure talk. They'll give you every reason in the world why you're going to fail. And she said, and the people who listen to that don't belong in show business. Somebody's got to get the job. Somebody's got to sing the song. Someone's got to write the book. It might as well be you. Mm-hmm. If that's your attitude and you're willing to do back-breaking hard work and you have the confidence, you'll break through somehow. I'm asked all the time, how did you break through in show business? And I don't know that I have a good answer for that, other than I met the love of my life when I was 13, and he was in show business already. And by the time I was 15, I was doing dinner theater. I made my first movie at 16. I was doing Broadway at 17 because nobody told me I couldn't. The rest of it is just really, really, really hard work and luck. I've been very lucky that very talented people think I'm very talented. And were willing to be mentors, willing to help me to grow as writer, comedian, singer, performer, and help support my effort because I believed in me. I think confidence is the sexiest thing on the planet. And I think arrogance is the biggest bone crusher there is. I hope, never arrogant. But if I don't have confidence, how can I do anything? So confidence, hard work, talent, and then luck. I didn't come after you guys. You asked me to be here. Well, what good luck that I get to meet all of you and play here with you today. That's good luck.
Yeah, and this has been a lot of fun. Like, getting to hear some of the stories and the advice that you've been giving. I totally agree with you when you're saying, you do all these things because no one ever said you couldn't, because how many kids have had their dreams crushed by, a parent or a relative, like, oh, I want to write. It's like, you can't do that.
I heard that. I just told them to go fuck themselves. Yeah. My parents were not at all supportive of anything I did. And my parents legally divorced me when I was 15. So at 15 and a half, I was on my own. I mean, legally in the courts, I was now an adult. And I had to go to work to support myself. I'm not saying I never did non-show business jobs. Everybody does to help put food on the table. But I went to work in show business immediately. When I went to write my first book, and you want to know how long ago that was? It was on a DOS system with no windows and an amber monitor and the old-fashioned literal floppy disks.
The 5.5 inch.
And everybody told me, you're wasting your money. You're wasting your time. What makes you think you can write a book? And I wanted to say to them, look at all the other things I've done that you said I couldn't do. What makes you think I can't? Mm-hmm. And I wrote it all the way through a first draft. I almost immediately got an agent. The book sold in 3 months and off to the races. So you have to believe in yourself. If you don't, you're already lost. The only failure in life is not trying. Anything you try and put your heart into, if you don't reach your goal, look how much you've learned along the way. And next time you'll get closer to the goal. And maybe what you've learned is you've got the wrong goal in mind. But it's all gold to learn from and to take along with you.
That's incredible.
Yeah, what a laugh riot this show is turning out to be.
I just oh, totally. I know we don't have too much time left. I just wanted to mention one thing, and we have a couple more questions as well. But with your podcast, I would love to hear, and I know you're only 10 episodes in, but we talk a lot in this show about how the music really makes the movie or the entertainment. Some movies have fizzled because they were shot great, had a good story, but the music just didn't bring everything together. And since Ella's music is so iconic, and I was going through a list of some of the shows that her music's been portrayed in, and one of them most recently, one of the best shows I've seen in a long time, Ted Lasso, This Is Us, The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Oh, sure.
Have you thought about, and I know you're still building it, but maybe covering, some of the songs that have been fundamental to the success of certain shows?
I will use that. That's a good idea. Another idea we thought about but I haven't done yet is to do an hour about the movies she actually sang in. Ella sang in 4 movies and 1 dramatic television show. So maybe we'll do an hour about that as well. So thank you for the good idea.
Certainly. That'd be awesome.
What other questions do we have, sir?
Before I get PJ, before I get to my questions, what else did you have?
Well, if they were to make a biographical movie about Ella, similar to what they just did with Aretha, who would you want to see cast?
I would want it to be bifurcated. I'd love them to find a very talented African-American young woman who could play Ella from mid-teens to, 30s. And
So an unknown, maybe? An unknown?
Yes. And then to play the older Ella, Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, nice.
They resemble each other physically. Oprah's a good actor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And with Oprah, you wouldn't have some singer's ego that they must sing the songs themselves. Use Ella's real recordings and get an actor who doesn't mind lip syncing, but can play the character. I would love to see that happen. I would also love to see a movie made of my book about Ethel Merman, if only it covers her marriage to Ernest Borgnine, because it was 48 hours long. And I think that's a marvelous story.
I think any marriage that's 48 hours is there's definitely some, like, that's going to be a better story than it's like, oh, my parents were together for 60 years. And it's like, yeah, but these two were together for 48 hours. That's going to be a way more interesting story.
Well, plus who it is, right? Ernest Borgnine.
Oh, yeah, Ethel Merman, Ernest Borgnine. Are you fucking kidding me?
So yeah, see, you're laughing already. You don't even know the details, and you're laughing already.
I just know the principal players, and that's it.
Speaking of that, the Airwolf movie's been trending lately. Speaking of Ernest Borgnine, but
if we have to,
yeah.
Mr. Borgnine was a splendid actor. He was not a leading man. He never was a leading man. But he did not treat Miss Merman very well. And I tell the truth about what happened between them. And I sent Mr. Borgnine a copy of the book to make sure. It's like, sue me, try. And he did a statement saying the reason their marriage failed was that he was a bigger star than she was. A, no, he wasn't. And B, that's not why the marriage failed.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Like, unless he was fresh off a Titan adventure.
In Miss Merman's autobiography, it's like chapter 26, my marriage to Ernest Borgnine. You turn the page, chapter 28. I mean, it is. She said it's like a freight train passing a hobo in the night. You don't look back.
Mm.
But it got a little violent between them, and it would make a great story.
And who would you want to do that movie?
Bette Midler.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
I don't know who to get to play Ernie. I don't know anybody around who's his size, who would be, about 50 years old. I mean, Bet is in her 70s now, but she could play 50 or 60.
Jack Black.
Jack is too. Ernie was a big boy. I mean, he was tall and broad.
Well, I mean,
Jack. Yeah, Jack. I don't see Jack and Bet having much chemistry, but maybe. I never thought about that, quite frankly. I'll think about it.
Yeah, I mean, just, you can always use forced perspective. Like, nobody knows that, when you're watching, Mission Impossible and you got Tom Cruise going up against Henry Cavill, like, you don't know Tom Cruise is 4.5 feet tall.
Right. You reminded me of a show business story. Pat McCormick was a comedian and an actor. He was about 6'7". I'm not kidding. And for many years, he dated Sally Struthers from All in the Family, who was a lovely woman. And I know Sally, and she was very good to Pat. Pat had a massive stroke, was in the motion picture home for a long time. But the joke among us who were his friends were, because Sally, without her big shoes on, is about 4'10". Pat was 6'7". Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall and watch her go up on him?
It reminds me. That kind of reminds me. There's a meme that's gone around for years of Shaquille O'Neal and his normal sized girlfriend, and that's the two of them walking, and he's obviously much bigger, and underneath of that is a picture of a hamster attempting to eat a banana.
Oh my God.
By the way, Ernest Borgnine, Brian Posehn.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Jack looks a little more like him, though. It's the eyebrows.
I know.
Jack, besides Jack being a little overweight these days, Jack's a handsome man. Ernie was never handsome. He was craggy. He was masculine and macho. I don't think we could call him handsome. I think Jack is basically a handsome man who's gained too much weight. But I'll take Jack. Jack is so talented. If Jack wants to do a film, yes, of course, Jack. Please be in my film.
Oh, yeah, I think you would do a great job.
I just want to remind everybody that I do have links in the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. The Ella Fitzgerald book, the deluxe edition, will be the proceeds will be donated to the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
We were very lucky. Patty Austin and I did a show at the Grammy Museum to celebrate Ella's 100th birthday. And a representative from Universal Music was there. And as it turns out, Universal Music owns or controls every recording Ella ever made, all the different record labels. And I said to them, not for nothing, but wouldn't it be great to put some of the music in the book? I had already been involved with several of her recording labels, doing compilations, picking off the songs, sequencing them, writing album notes, because I had done some of that for Ella late in her career, choosing her songs in her concerts. And I said, we could use one of the ones I've already done. He said, well, it's the same cost if we do something new. Why compete with yourself? So in the deluxe edition, there's one CD, the best of her studio work from the 30s to 1990, sequenced exactly the way Ella would have done it. And one CD is concerts from the late 40s to the late 70s. Again, sequenced the way Ella would have done it. I'm so happy we're able to do that. So, by all means, buy it. Enjoy it.
And we have links in the show notes. Last question I have for you, because I know we have a hard out at 9. I read that Tim Curry got you started with Ella.
Wow. Yes. I saw Tim about 2 weeks ago. I reminded him. We got 4 minutes here. I never really looked into Ella until I saw her on a Dinah Shore show with Lucille Ball. Once I saw her work, I was mesmerized. In the 1970s in New York City, if you wanted to look for someone's recordings, you went to a place called The Colony, which had every record ever released by anybody. And I didn't know where to start. and Tim happened to be there, and Tim walked me through Ella the Cole Porter Songbook, Ella Mac the Knife to get me started. And we just happened to be at dinner together a couple of weeks ago, and I reminded him. He remembered the incident, but he didn't know that it was me. So yes, Tim is the one who sort of opened the door for Ella for me.
That's awesome. Simply awesome. Did you guys have anything else before I wrap things up?
No, I'm blown away with it, what we've got so far. So Jeffrey, thank you so much.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you have me back sometime?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I have your email, and actually I'll get you that image. So where do you like fans interacting with you on social media?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn. Some use of my name, Jeffrey Mark, somewhere will get you to me. And I answer everybody. And if you want to buy any of my books personally autographed, contact me and I'll sell it to you privately, and I'll sign anything you like.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Totally. And I have those links in the show notes up above.
Or you can contact Leo and Philip and Patsy, and they can get a hold of me.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Cool beans. Speaking of that,
Well,
Phil,
it's been a long time since I've been on with three handsome men, so thank you.
Well, thank you, good sir. I'm definitely not handsome though, so
just say thank you.
I appreciate the compliment, and I will absolutely take that compliment.
Indeed.
And Philip's not smiling.
No, I did the thumbs up. That's even better.
He's smiling on the inside.
All righty. So you do your own sign off, but as I always say when I finish doing a show, God bless and have a happy.
Have a happy.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, good sir.
Thank you very, very much.
Philip, same question for you. Where do you like people interacting with you?
Yes, you can go to Facebook. I'm always on there, and darkdiscussions.com or Dark Discussions Facebook group.
Sounds good. Patsy.
You can find me on pretty much every social media platform, but the best way is Throwdown Thursday podcast on Facebook. You can also find me on the Loudest Sports Show on Facebook. We're going to be running a fun contest. If you are a NFL fan, every week we're going to be doing a pick 'em straight up. It's $5 to enter. You can enter as many times as you want, and whoever wins gets 50% of whatever we take in. So if 10 people want to put in entries and you win, you get $25. And at the end of the season, you will get an autographed. If you are the winner, you will get an autographed jersey of the team of your choosing. And as you can see, I have access to a lot of different stuff. So
very cool. And for me, I run the Dorkening Podcast Network. We got about 40 shows on the network. A lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome stuff. For me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which, but I urge you definitely check out the Ella Fitzgerald book, the Lucy book, and Ethel Merman book. I have links in the show notes up above or down below. And with that, be well.